Amen. Well, here we are, closing down 2015, 5 days away from Christmas. Who can believe it? It's here. Everybody's aware of that. It is here. Hey, Christmas, there really is no other time of the year like it. Is that true? I mean, there's nothing like it. It's just amazing, right? People that were mean to you all year start acting nice to you. Your financial woes take the month of December off, which is awesome. Democrats and Republicans agree on everything during the holidays. Crime ceases to exist in our city. No family members drive us crazy. Really, it's just peace on earth, is it not? And is there a less peaceful time than the Christmas season? I mean, here's the deal, right? For so many of us, it's like it's a condensed month. And so you've got to get everything done in I don't know, like 20 days or so. And not only that, but your calendar fills up like crazy more than the months when you get the full 30 or 31 days to do things. You've got church activity. Sorry, I can be guilty for that one. You've got your holiday party. You've got your significant other's holiday party. Some of you, let's be honest, some of you are going to holiday parties of people you don't even like. But you know that if you didn't show up to the party of the person that you don't like, then they would know that you don't like them, and like, oh, we got to save face, and so you're not doing that. I mean, Christmas, is there any less peaceful time than the Christmas season? And for us, church, it's business that comes with church stuff, and, you have staffing parties and volunteer parties, and then we do a neighborhood thing, and then Shauna and I decided to get married on December 16th, so weren't really thinking ahead on that one, and then our youngest child had a birthday yesterday, and it's just kind of a crazy, right? You eat differently in December than you eat the rest of the year. Right? And you act like you wouldn't enjoy that the other 11 months if you're like me, right? You're just like, oh, I'm just eating so much, But everything just gets condensed, and it's a little bit crazy because here's the thing. When it's, some of you have end-of-year deadlines. Anybody got an end-of-year deadline? It's cool. These are the people that if you're not paying attention to the sermon and you're on your device, we are so cool with that. And it's okay that it's an end-of-the-year deadline coming up if you hit your number back in October. Right? But if it's December 20th and you still have 4 or 5 months to go to make your quota, it's a different story. Some of you who are newlywed, you don't know how you got roped into spending Christmas with his family. Anybody? Like, I don't even know how I lost that bet. He's going to owe me for the rest of our lives. And it's just crazy. For me, we're going to visit my family and Shauna's family this week, which it would be lots of fun. I'm telling myself, it will be a lot of fun, but my dad, so I've got 3 siblings, and between the 4 of us, we have 14 kids between the ages of 1 and 13. Peaceful. Peace on earth. Peace in the house. Peace out. You know what I mean? Like, there's really nothing that comes with this season that screams peace. Like, nothing. I mean, maybe Michael Bublé Christmas album, right? But there's just not many things that happen naturally during this time. I mean, right, we're spending more money than we spend in other months, and we're busier, and I know, like, Ben, you don't understand, I'm so busy the rest of the year, but Christmas is just a whole nother level. Like, I know, like, there's nothing within our schedule, there's nothing within our health usually, there's nothing within our financial situation that screams so much peace. I mean, if Christmas was supposed to promise peace, it rarely lives up to it. Sleep in heavenly peace, it's a great line in Silent Night, which we're going to close with. But that kind of peace seems to usually be out of our reach. But wasn't there something promised to us about peace with the birth of Jesus? Right? Like that phrase, peace on earth, goodwill to men, that wasn't just a Charlie Brown thing, was it? I mean, wasn't there something in the scriptures promised to us that peace would come upon the arrival of the Messiah? I want to show you that prophecy in Isaiah chapter 9 if you have a Bible. If you need one, just lift a hand and we'll get one distributed to you and you can follow along from there. And I hope every time you and I come into the scriptures and we juxtapose that with real life, I don't want any of us to check our minds at the door this morning or any other morning. Here's what I want to do. I want to look at this promise of peace, But I want us to compare the promise of peace in the scriptures with what we are experiencing in our world today. I mean, if peace was promised, if Christmas was supposed to bring the advent or the arrival of this newfound peace, then what is going on in our world today? If we're supposed to be people who experience peace on earth, I mean, has Jesus read the newspapers? Has he watched CNN? Has he been a part of the discussions? What does that mean that the Prince of Peace would promise peace and we would find peace to be so elusive? Stand with me. Isaiah chapter 9, verses 6 and 7. Here's the prophecy. All kinds of things show up in this prophecy, but I want you to really just think about the word peace that shows up in both of these verses. And then I just want us to just honestly ask ourselves, has God made good on what he promised us? For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and of peace there will be no end, on the throne of David and over his kingdom, to establish it and to uphold it with justice and with righteousness, from this time forth and forevermore. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will do this. You may be seated. Battling a little throat issue, sorry. So many amazing things. You see the titles for Jesus that are prophesied about in verse 6, some amazing titles: Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father. But for our focus today, that Prince of Peace title, that Jesus would come and be the King of all peace, that he would be the ultimate peace. In verse 7, it says, of the increase of his government and of peace, there will be no what? No end. Isaiah seems to be saying that when Jesus shows up, when the Christmas child comes, when Messiah is born in that stable, in the manger, that he's bringing with him limitless peace. But has that been your experience, limitless peace? Is that the world in which we live in? No end to peace. It seems to me like no end to chaos. No end to all the complexities. No end to evil. No end to suffering. No end to confusion. Peace? I mean, just the last few months, Paris, ISIS, San Bernardino, Syrian refugees, the injustices that are taking place in our very city right this second. What's happening with children all around the world. I don't see peace on earth. Anybody else? You're like, but Ben, you're a pastor. It's 5 days from Christmas. How can you say that? I don't see peace on earth. And here we have the prophecy. Some 700 years before Jesus was born, God said that when this child comes, he will be the Prince of Peace, and of his peace, there will be no end. If there's no end to his peace, then why does peace seem so elusive in our world and in our city? But can we be honest? We're not just finding peace to be elusive in a global sense or in a local sense. I can't remember the last time someone described their own personal life to me by talking about how filled with peace it was. So our lack of peace, can we be honest? It's not just global. It's not just local. It's personal. It is a personal thing. It seems to be out of our reach. Why is that? And here's what's interesting. If we're honest, most of us are trying to build lives that guarantee peace, right? So we take care of our bodies, or you take care of your body to guarantee health, peace in your health, right? We make as much money as we can. We try to be wise stewards of that money. We put enough in retirement so that we can guarantee financial peace. Some of you don't let your children out of your sight so you can guarantee parental peace. Many of us have dialed back our risk-taking ventures so that we can guarantee ourselves vocational peace. All of us, we're trying to build lives that guarantee peace, because here's what we've told ourselves: that if such and such is present, I'll have peace. Or if this thing is absent, I'll have peace. But it's amazing to me, we've done all we can to guarantee peace in our lives with the lives that we're building, and for most of us, peace still seems out of reach. Why is that the case? If Jesus was coming to bring peace. Maybe the Prince of Peace showing up created peace for a while, but that peace has expired. I want to show you something from Matthew chapter 2 that I think you'll find fascinating. In terms of the similarity of the world in which Jesus was born into and the world we find ourselves in today, some things that are going to be so similar, you're just going to be like, wow. Was the Prince of Peace, when he was born into a peaceful environment? No trick question. What do you guys think? I mean, he's the Prince of Peace. When the Messiah shows up in the form of a baby, there's going to be peace without end. Certainly then for him, there would be peace. Matthew chapter 2, you probably know most of the story. The wise men see a star and they're going to follow the star so that they might find this Christ child and they might go and worship him. And King Herod gets wind of this and he says to them, "Where is this child going to be born?" And they tell him, "Bethlehem." And Herod says to the wise men, "Go, and when you find him, return to me and tell me where he is, that I might" what? Go and worship him. Herod didn't want to go and worship this child. Herod wanted to put an end to this child because Herod had massive insecurity issues. He felt any small threat to his throne, and he did away with that person or that group of people or that family. And in this case, he's feeling threatened by a baby that's not even yet to be born. Thankfully, in the dream that the wise men had, they were warned in that dream not to return back to Herod. So I want to show you the world in which Jesus was born into, and it's just eerily similar to the world we find ourselves in today. Matthew 2, 13 through 15. "Now when they had departed," that's the wise men, "behold, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream and said," just picture this. When we get into the Christmas story and we sing the sweet songs, we think everything is just so nice and peaceful and lovely, don't we? Right? And I'm all for the Christmas songs, even if they're inaccurate. Right? I mean, has anyone ever seen a baby born and the night be silent? Anyone? Anyone? Sleep in heavenly peace. Not if he's like my babies. You know what I mean? Like there's no... So I want you to have... I missed my mouth. I want you to have in your mind, this baby has been born. Joseph and Mary, their new mom, new dad, and all that comes with that. A baby that's crying, a baby that's hungry, a baby that needs to be changed, a baby that's not sleeping through the night. When the angel says this to Joseph: "Rise, take the child and his mother and flee to Egypt and remain there until I tell you, for Herod is about to search for the child to destroy him." And he, that's Joseph, rose and took the child, Jesus, and his mother, Mary, by night and departed to Egypt and remained there until the death of Herod. This was to fulfill what the Lord had spoken by the prophet: "Out of Egypt I called my son." So when we read that, we think that was just like a quick thing. Rise, take the son, and get out. And they just... Have you ever traveled with an infant? Have you ever? Some of you have not had children yet, but you travel on an airplane or an airport with infants. Anybody? So whether you've been the person that's been giving us the looks, or if you've been the person who's been getting the looks from everyone else, you know that traveling with a child is no quick thing, is it? And what you've got to take, I don't know about for baby Jesus. I mean, he might have had less needs than we have, but I can remember when our children were small, I'm like, "Shauna, why do we need to take the whole house for a 4-day trip?" "Well, Ben, what, like if a baby's like 4 outfits per day and you've got the stroller and a car seat," and this was back before the stroller, held the car. Like it's just, and in the middle of the night, Jesus, along with his mother and father, becomes a refugee. Sound familiar? In the middle of the night, because some dictator could not assume anyone threatening his throne, a baby, days old, perhaps weeks old, maybe a month or 2 old, has to flee. And he's got to stay gone until Herod's life is over. The Prince of Peace becomes a refugee before he turns 1 year old. So we don't see peace in our world. The Prince of Peace didn't experience peace in the world he was born into. Perhaps, though, he brought peace to everyone else who was around in that first century. Right? Like in Bethlehem where he was born, maybe everyone else got peace, and it was just for a short amount of time in a specific place. Keep reading, 16 through 18. Then Herod, when he saw that he had been tricked by the wise men, he became furious, and he sent and killed all the male children in Bethlehem and in all that region who were 2 years old or under, according to the time that he had ascertained from the wise men. Then was fulfilled what was spoken by the prophet Jeremiah. A voice was heard in Ramah, weeping and loud lamentation, Rachel weeping for her children. She refused to be comforted because they are no more. A similar story that Brad told us before we sang that song, It Is Well, a moment ago. So Jesus, the Prince of Peace, is born into a situation that lacks peace. He's on the run, he's fleeing. But these other mothers and fathers didn't get the warning. Imagine every male between 0 and 24 months in Bethlehem, and just in case someone's in the suburbs of Bethlehem and the region, were murdered because the Prince of Peace threatened the throne of King Herod. So we were hopeful that even though things aren't peaceful today, maybe they were at some point in time for a little while. But it seems to me that Jesus was born into, can you imagine those mothers and fathers? Because of Jesus, their 18-month-old boy was murdered. Their 6-month-old son was murdered. Their 7-day-old son was murdered. So somebody's got to help me out. The Prince of Peace, who's bringing limitless peace into our world, seems to usher in the exact opposite. I'm going to show you one verse, big time fast forward here to John 16:33. Jesus is speaking to his disciples. He's not far from going to the cross, and he gives them the secret. He gives them the secret. You see, so many of us and his disciples and people in the first century thought the same, that when the Messiah shows up, everything hard is over. Anybody attend a church where they promise you that? If you'll just give your life to Jesus, it'll be smooth sailing from there. Well, in some ways, but in other ways, it becomes more difficult to live life as a follower of Jesus. Wouldn't you agree? So his disciples and many people living in the first century thought that when the Messiah shows up, he's going to be a military type of Messiah, that he's going to usher in peace by destroying every threat. But from the very early days of Jesus' life, he doesn't find himself in peaceful circumstance. And if you know anything about the last days of his life, he doesn't find himself in peaceful circumstances there either. But he tells the disciples this secret about peace in a world where there is no peace. He says this, I have said these things to you that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but take heart, I have overcome the world. Jesus did not promise his disciples, and he does not promise any person in this room peaceful circumstances. In fact, he promises that we'll have the opposite, right? In this world, you will have tribulation, you will have trial, you will have suffering, you will have persecution, you will have heartbreak. But in me, you will have peace. And that's what we've been saying in this Waiting Here For You series. We don't have to wait for something to change because some things are never going to change. And yet many of us are looking to the externals in our lives to try to guarantee peace in some way, right? So we think this, we'll have peace when we have a stable housing situation in San Francisco, if such a thing exists. We will have peace when we get into the management position. We will have peace when the difficult people in our lives move out of our lives. We will have peace when the baby starts sleeping through the night. I think that's a biblical peace, yeah. I think that's... All the singles are like, what do you mean? We'll have peace when our debt is paid. We'll have peace when the doctor gives us a better report next time. We will have peace when we quit making so many mistakes and get our own act together. We will have peace, and we just play the game all the way down. And here's what I want to say to you. If you're looking or I'm looking to the externals in our lives to bring us peace, I think we'll be waiting on those things forever. I was reading this week in one of my devotionals, there's some commentary, and the guy who writes this devotional, he's a pastor in England, and he says that over the last few years, 25% of the population in England is on some kind of depression, anxiety deal. And he wasn't saying anything wrong with that. Like, that's needed, whatever. But he said that number goes up drastically for people who made 50,000 pounds or more. But what I've promised myself since I was a teenager is when I make X amount, then peace comes. I've done it relationally too, and so have you. When I have a stable relationship, then comes peace. We do it on a short-term basis. When I get right Friday at 6 o'clock, peace. Anybody? Like Friday at 6, Christmas vacation, year-end bonus. Kids start sleeping through the night, you know? When my mom doesn't act crazy at Christmas time. And on and on and on and on. But here's what I want to tell you. If you're looking or I'm looking to externals, that list never will go away. And the worst thing is this, some of us in this room know that it doesn't work and we keep trying it. We try the new thing, we try the new job, we try the new relationship, we go get a second opinion. I'm all for those things if that's what God has for you, but none of those things externally are going to bring you the deep inward peace that you long for. But Jesus is saying, in me, you can have peace, no matter what's going on out here. And let me tell you, what's going on out here is going to be bad at times. It's the world he was born into. It's the world we find ourselves in today. But he's saying, even in the midst of this, you can have peace. Some of you have never had to test this theory because life is really going well for you. And so you don't even know, like, is it the absence of circumstantial things, or like, do I really have this peace that he talks about? In Isaiah 26:3, he gives us a great application for how we can have peace in our lives. Here's what he says. In Isaiah 26:3, Isaiah says to God, you keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on you because he trusts in you. So peace isn't determined by your circumstances, it's determined by your focus. Let me say that again. Peace isn't determined by your circumstances, it's determined by your focus. Because every one of us in this room have had conversations where we've said something like this: Ben, my job is going well, my relationships are going well, my family's healthy, but I still don't feel any peace. Recently in my small group, there was a guy that was sharing with us what's going on in his personal life, and he said, just very nonchalantly, he said, yeah, prayer request, I just want to let you guys know I've got stage 4 cancer. The first time he ever said it. And he said it so nonchalantly that, A, when someone shares a prayer request like that, you don't share yours, right? Like, oh, my dog dying is not that significant, right? Or, me traveling for the holidays doesn't. But he said it, and we're like, hey, back that train up. What did you say? And he said it again. Yeah, I've got stage 4 cancer. It's no big deal. That's what he said. Now, I don't think this guy was in denial. But the longer I've interacted with this gentleman, I've just seen this incredible peace in the midst of something that's less than peaceful. And here's the good news for you. Well, here's the bad news for you. Here's the bad news first. The way peace works, if you get everything you think you need, you still will be lacking peace without Christ. There's the bad news. Get everything you want, everything that's on the list, everything you need to be present in your life, and then remove everything you need to be absent. You've told yourself that'll bring you peace. It actually won't. But the good news is this: no matter what you're facing, Jesus said, in this world you will have those things happening, but in me you will have peace. It really is about where your attention and where your focus is and where your hope lies. Is it in the externals? And by the way, I'm all for great externals. As I look at your faces, I know some of you are trying to figure out relationships. I know some of you have a mother or father who just passed away, and others of you, you're afraid it's going to happen even before Christmas, and my heart goes out to you. But here's the reality of the Prince of Peace prophecy. In the midst of it, in the midst of health issues and financial issues and irreconcilable relationships, and in the midst of death itself, Jesus said, in me you have another alternative. And he holds out that hope for you today. In me you will have peace. I want to just recap a few things we've discovered in this Waiting Here For You series. The whole series, if you haven't figured it out by now, has really been about how our circumstances don't get to dictate what Jesus is able to do in us and for us. So day one, we said that we can be in God's presence even while we're waiting for him to act in some specific way. We can be in the presence of God even while we're waiting for him to act in some specific way. We said that sometimes we think God is out there in the future with the change in our circumstance, with the breakthrough, with the job offer, with the second interview, with the baby, with the relationship that gets healed. But we said, no, that's not it. I think it was Psalm 37:7, which said, be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him to act. That you can be in the presence of God even if he doesn't change your circumstance, or until he does change your circumstance. That God's not out there somewhere where the grief is finally over. That God doesn't have to be way out in the future where the job offer comes. He doesn't have to be way out in the future when your child returns to faith in him. He is present with you in the hard thing, not just when you get out of it. And some of you need to realize that again today. God is with you in the unemployment. God is with you in the aging parent. God is with you in the marriage that might not make it. God is with you in the kids who the doctors can't figure out their issue. God is right there in the midst. You don't have to wait for him to be present. We said with that message that we all know when good things come, we go, God was with me, right? I do that. When I get the job, I haven't applied for a job, by the way. Just that might make you sad. But when we get the job, we're like, oh, God was with me, right? When a child's illness is discovered and then relieved, we're like, oh, God was with us. And I think those are true. But we need to be able to get to that deeper place where when we don't get the job, we can walk out and go, I don't know what God has in store, but I know he's with me. We also discovered this principle: joy doesn't reside on the other side of your waiting. Joy doesn't reside on the other side of your waiting. Remember the lesson Paul told us in Philippians? You don't have to rejoice when things change. You can rejoice in the Lord who never changes. Rejoice in the Lord. Paul wrote it from prison. So I know you have issues. I've got issues this Christmas season. None of us are sitting in prison, but even if we were, Paul says, hey, if you rejoice in the Lord and not rejoice when your circumstances improve, you'll find something in Christ that the circumstance can't give you. And today we've discovered this. Peace won't come from our world. It can only be found in Jesus. So whatever you're aiming for in this Christmas season, all I want to urge you is this: don't finish this year or look forward to 2016 thinking that if this and that happens, peace. But if this and the other thing happens, chaos, no peace. Jesus wants to tell you that regardless, and none of us know what's going to happen this next year, but what he wants to whisper into our heart, the deep place in our heart that goes further than our circumstances on the surface, he wants to say this to you: hey, whatever happens, I'm with you. Your joy can be present, and my peace is available. I would love to stand up here as your friend and your pastor and say, this is going to be the best year ever. Circumstances are going to be killer. You're going to get married, or you're going to have a baby, or you're going to get the job, or you're going to, just have this amazing vacation and all of these accolades and opportunities. But I can't say that. But what I want to say is that let's see what's better than those things. Let's see what's always available. Let's see what is steadfast and secure. Most of us, if we're honest, in closing out this year, we want a God who will change our circumstances. But what we need is a God who will change us. What we need is a God who has at his disposal and gives as a gift to us things like joy and hope and love and peace that can't be taken away. That we might say, along with this guy back in the 1800s, God, I lost everything circumstantially, but I didn't lose you. And the greatest request we can make going into this next year is, God, would you show me, not in some Christian language, but would you show me that Jesus is enough? We need to see that. At least many of us in this room believe that cognitively. Functionally, I don't know that any of us really do. That's my hope for you. Would you pray with me? God, I thank you for your word. I thank you that we've looked over this series at things that we wish were different externally, and yet you give us something in terms of inner joy and inner peace that this world cannot offer us. God, there are people in this room that need your comfort with what they're going through, and I pray that you would give that to them. God, there are people that do need housing and do need employment changes in this coming year. I pray you would answer those requests. But God, some of us, maybe all of us, we need to know joy without all of those things being present. And we need to experience peace without all of those things being present or absent in our lives. And so, God, I just pray that in this season, as we turn our attention to this next year, that you would do such a work in our hearts, and you would remind us that you keep in perfect peace him or her who's steadfastly focused on you. We thank you that even in a world that can be evil and chaotic, that you have overcome the world, thus giving us peace. I pray we would experience that in Jesus' name. Amen. Let's stand, and Brad's going to lead us in Silent Night.